Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Welcome back to WWH, where today we will be diving into the tragic final days of Edgar Allan Poe as told through the film The Raven. My name is Andrew Dreamer. Thank you for joining us for another action-packed show. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and head over to Patreon to become a member of the WWH Universe. Like this video and post a comment telling me what your favorite Edgar Allan Poe story is. The Raven was released in 2012 and stars John Cusack as the macabre writer. Cusack gives what, in my opinion, is one of the best performances of his entire career. If you look at the genre of this movie, it'll probably say that it's a crime thriller. However, I believe it's horror. To be more specific, gothic horror. Yes, there's a mystery, and yes, it is a crime thriller, but it's a story about Edgar Allan Poe, so to me, it's horror. I'm a big fan of Poe, and coincidentally, The Raven is my favorite story or poem that he wrote. I even have a raven tattooed on my arm. I'm really excited to jump into this, so let's get down to the ring for the plot of this film. The film opens in 1849, Baltimore, Maryland, where several policemen discover a murdered woman. They find her on the floor of an apartment that was locked from the inside. As the police search for the killer's escape route, they find another body, later found to be the 12-year-old daughter of the first victim. Detective Emmett Fields, played by Luke Evans, is brought in to assist with the investigation. He realizes that the crime resembles a fictional murder he read in a story. That story is The Murders in the Rue Morgue, written by Poe. Speaking of Poe, he is down on his luck. No money, a bar tab he can't pay, essentially suffering from a massive writer's block. He hasn't written anything good in a while and now mostly just critiques others' work. The only thing he has going for him is the love of Emily Hamilton. Their love is shared in secret as her father despises the writer. Emily wants to marry Poe, but he declines because he feels that he's lost every other woman that he's ever loved. Fields has Poe brought to his office for questioning, but Poe claims innocence.
But you're talking about my story. Work of fiction. I'm afraid I'm not.
Another body is then found, that of Griswold, a rival of Poe's. He was cut in half by a giant pendulum, just like in The Pit and the Pendulum. Poe and Fields deduce that someone is staging murders based on Poe's stories. Emily's father is throwing a masquerade ball like the one described in The Mask of the Red Death. Emily is kidnapped from the ball by the killer on a horse, causing panic. Emily's father doesn't want Poe involved, but Fields shuts that down real quick. The killer taunts Poe with a note demanding he write and publish a new story. Later, Poe's home is burned down by people who believe he's exploiting the murders, forcing him to move in with Fields. The detective and the writer follow several more leads, taking them to the theater.
Stop! Show yourself! I will kill you!
And the tunnels underneath the city after finding a note from the killer referring to the cask of Amontillado. While in the tunnels, they discover the walled-up corpse of a man dressed like Emily. They determine that the man is a sailor, and clues on his body lead them to Holy Cross Church, which is the Hamiltons' parish. At the church, they find an empty grave with Emily's name on it. As the policemen attempt to break down the doors of the church, the killer attacks and kills one of them. He also shoots Fields, only wounding him, though.
He's over here! There! Black horse!
Poe chases the killer on horseback, but he escapes. Throughout all of this, Poe has been writing sections of his new story as the events progress. He writes one last column for the paper, offering his life for Emily, suggesting that he could take a poison. He delivers the piece to the publisher, and the next morning receives a note from the killer, accepting his terms. Poe figures out that the note was delivered long before the paper was ever distributed because of the paper being wet but the note being dry. He realizes the killer must work at the paper. Poe races to confront his editor, Henry, but Henry is already dead when Poe arrives. A note next to him reads, "Getting warmer." The killer is the paper's typesetter, Ivan Reynolds, who congratulates Poe and offers him a drink.
So I had to speed things along and deliver the morning edition so you could finally realize it had to be none other than your humble typesetter and biggest fan.
Ivan attempts to have a conversation with Poe, but he's having none of it, and demands Emily's location. Ivan pours a vial of poison, insisting on ending the story just the way Poe wrote it, to which he agrees. Poe drinks the liquid, and Ivan quotes the telltale heart, cluing Poe that Emily is beneath the floorboards of the newspaper. As Ivan leaves, Poe summons just enough strength to tear up the floor and open the trapdoor leading to Emily. He rescues his love, and the two share a really nice moment before Emily is taken away by ambulance.
I'm here.
Now delirious from the poison, Poe wanders off and collapses on a park bench. A passerby recognizes the writer and asks if he's all right. Poe can only muster enough strength to say, "Tell Fields his name is Reynolds." Later, when Fields is viewing Poe's corpse at the hospital, the physician is unable to tell him the exact cause of death, but mentions that the writer was incoherent and insistent that his last name was Reynolds. Fields ponders the meaning of the phrase and slowly connects the dots. The Hamiltons also attend Poe's burial after this. Ivan arrives in Paris thinking he got away with it all scot-free. As a porter carries his luggage, Ivan climbs into a carriage where he is confronted by Fields. He lunges at the detective, and Fields shoots him point blank as the screen cuts to black. And that is how Edgar Allan Poe spent the final days of his life. What a way to go out. This man with a darkness inside his mind, but overall a good man, is forced to write his own death. Basically, his autobiography of his own death. And I don't think that this film gets enough recognition for that. And I'm not sure why. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I like it a lot. Maybe I'm a bit biased since I'm a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe. But we're going to dive into the positives and the negatives. But first, we do have to take a quick break, so stick around for more WWH action. The holiday season is coming up, and if you're looking for a perfect gift for somebody in your family who loves going to the gym, well, I have a very good deal for you. Go to redcon1.com right now and use code AndrewDreamer at checkout, and you will receive 20% off of your entire order. It could be something for yourself. It could be something, a gift from somebody else. They have anything that you could possibly want. They have t-shirts, they have protein, they have pre-workout, they have greens, anything that you could possibly want to live a better, healthier life, they're going to have it. So go check it out. Welcome back. We've got more action lined up, so let's head back down to the ring for the positives. My first positive for The Raven is that this is a film about Edgar Allan Poe. I remember reading his stories in school. Look, I hate reading. I'm not a book reader. Basically, I read screenplays and Poe stories. The first one that I read was The Cask of Amontillado, and I just remember thinking, holy crap, this guy is an amazing writer. And ever since then, I've loved his work. So seeing a movie about him, fictitious or not, was really cool to me. And though this is a fictitious story, the filmmakers did use some of the details surrounding Poe's mysterious death to craft this story. And that's a lot of time and effort and research that goes into that. I mean, in real life, Poe was said to have uttered the name Reynolds before he died, and they turned that into this whole movie. I think that's awesome. Poe lived a tragic life until the very end, and it was portrayed excellently by John Cusack. As I said earlier, I believe this is one of his best performances, if not his best. He truly embodied the real man, and I swear throughout the film, it feels like you're actually watching Edgar Allan Poe. To me, that is the best indicator of a performance that is really good when you're dealing with characters who are real people. On the technical side of things, the tone of this movie is perfect for the subject. It's a dark and depressing tone throughout. The only glimmers of hope are the scenes with Poe and Emily. Their love is the driving force of this entire story, and that's exemplified through the direction, the cinematography, the lighting. All of these elements work together to create this gothic, horrific love story. I also love that this movie is a whodunit. I love trying to figure out who the killer is, and I've got to say, I didn't guess this one. I can usually figure it out pretty easily, but I didn't this time. And I can't forget to mention the kills. Seeing Poe's stories come to life was really cool, and the gore within those kills was really good too. I was shocked how good the gore was. But let's transition to the negatives now. I talked about the lighting a bit before, and while it does add to the tone of the film, some scenes are just really hard to see. And if you can't see what's going on, then it's really hard to follow the story. And I understand why Fields was sidelined for the final act of the film, but it just felt like a bit of a cop-out to me. They wanted to just get him out of the way, so they stuck him in a hospital. I feel like there was a better way to do it. You could have had him chasing another lead when Poe figures it all out. I don't know. There are other characters that get lost in the shuffle as well, like Emily's father. He just disappears after Emily is kidnapped and only reappears when he has some plot-convenient information like about the church. Even the killer, Ivan, he wasn't really on screen a lot until the end of the film. There weren't even a lot of clues that he could be the killer. The editor, Henry, would have made more sense, but they killed him off just to have some kind of twist. But with all of that being said, let me know what you think about The Raven. Do you like the movie or do you hate it? Personally, I like it a lot. It's not necessarily a fun movie, but it's well made and an interesting story, and sometimes that's just what I want. It is time to wrap up our show now. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Like this video and check out our Patreon page. We'd love to have you as a member of the WWH Universe. We have a lot more coming your way very soon, but until then, my name is Andrew Dreamer, and this is Wrestling with Horror.